Hi, I'm Ariezz Adriano, and this is the LVO Podcast. If you're here, I want to start by saying this clearly. LVO is not just a clothing brand, and this podcast is not just a podcast either. Both the clothing brand and this podcast exist for the same reason, and that's to give Liberians, especially those in the diaspora, a place to belong, to be seen, and to be represented with intention. So this episode is called "This is LVO," and I chose that title because before you even wear the brand, before you support it, before you even decide if the brand is for you, you deserve to understand exactly what we're building, who it's for, and why it matters. So we currently live in a world where the African culture is being consumed like super heavily, but you know it's understood very little. And you see the fashion, you hear the music, but the people, the stories, the context, they're often missing. So as a Liberian in the diaspora, I felt that gap personally. I felt proud of where I was. I often felt proud of where I'm from, but didn't always feel represented. And even when representation did exist, it was often incomplete or watered down or explained through some other person's lens. LVO was created to change that, and we're changing that not by asking for permission, not by chasing trends, but by building something rooted, intentional, and unapologetic. LVO or LIB Vibes Only is a Liberian streetwear and lifestyle brand, but more importantly, it's a cultural platform. Here we use clothing as the language, we use phrases as identity markers, and we use design as storytelling. LVO exists to communicate Liberian culture the way we understand it and not how it's been simplified or explained away. That's why phrases like "no spot a story" or "things happening matters." They're not just slogans; they're a living language. They come from real places, real conversations, real humor, and real truth. So if you're someone who understands that culture isn't something you put on, rather it's something you actually live, then LVO already should be making sense to you. Now let's talk who's LVO is really for, who this brand is really for, because that matters. LVO is for Liberians first. Liberians in the diaspora, Liberians back home, Liberians who've never felt like they had to explain themselves. The brand is also for people who understand that identity is power, that where you come from should never be something you shrink or soften. If you're looking for fast fashion or you're chasing trend or something, this brand isn't for you. But if you're looking for meaning, pride, intention, then you're in the right place. LVO doesn't try to speak to everyone. It speaks clearly so that the right people can hear it. Here's why this brand matters. I believe representation shapes confidence. Confidence shapes how we move through the world. So when people see themselves reflected honestly in fashion, whether it's in fashion, in language, or in leadership, it changes how they carry themselves. So LVO exists to give Liberians that reflection to say, you don't need to dilute who you are to be global. You can be rooted and still be respected. And that's not just fashion, that's impact. Now let me explain why the podcast exists. Social media is there, of course, but it gives highlights. A podcast gives context, and there are many decisions behind every phrase, every drop, every decision LVO takes. And I realized, those decisions need a home. And so, hey, the podcast was born. This is the home for all those, decisions. The LVO podcast is where the brain will speak in full sentences, where I, as the founder, can explain the thinking, the values, and the long term vision without rushing or watering anything down. Highly successful brands don't just sell products, they communicate culture. This podcast is how LVO intends to do that. I also want to be clear here that this podcast is a safe space. It's a space where Liberians can be bold, where we don't have to code switch, where we can be loud, expressive, and proud, and not apologize for who we are or where we come from. So if you've ever felt like you didn't, fully belong anywhere, then maybe this platform should become your home. Not because, we all think the same, but because we respect where we come from. We all respect where we come from. So moving forward, here's what you can expect from the LVO podcast. So whenever you visit us, you hear, the brand thinking in real time. You might catch cultural conversations that matter. You might also hear lessons from building the brand or building something with intention. And you might hear like honest reflection just on different aspects of our society and our lives with our spider story. This podcast grows as the brand grows and the community grows with it. So, if you've been wondering what LVO is, there you have it. It's a brand rooted in culture, it's built with intention, and it's created for belonging. If this resonates with you, then I want you to subscribe, stay connected, engage with the conversation, and remember, LIB Vibes Only, no spotter story. And I'll see you in the next episode.